intense heat wave swept across Europe. How have the record-breaking temperatures impacted people across the continent?
A fast-moving wildfire near Marseille has left more than 100 people injured and at least 400 people have been evacuated. More than 160 people are still missing in Texas after flash floods killed over 100 people during the weekend.
In an effort to avoid mobilization, the Kremlin now allows foreigners to serve in the Russian army. Extreme weather has affected large parts of Europe over the last few days. In Portugal, 284 excess deaths were recorded during the ongoing heat wave, almost all of them people aged over 85. It comes after the country recorded its hottest ever temperature in late June. The extreme heat is expected to continue. In neighboring Spain, more than 18,000 residents were placed into lockdown as wildfires continued to burn. Large parts of Spain are on high alert for wildfires after the country experienced its hottest June on record. Meanwhile, France is also attempting to put out wildfires. Flights have been suspended at Marseille airport because of a fire that is raging close to the southern French port city. Authorities urge people to stay indoors. The wildfire risk remains high. And in Greece, the Acropolis closed for several hours as temperatures exceeded 40 degrees.
I'm very disappointed because it's the second time I come here and second time it's closed. So I feel like I came for nothing, and the ride to come here is very, very climbing, so it's hot, it's very hot.
In Hungary, severe thunderstorms battered the country, uprooting trees, downing power lines and paralyzing rail traffic. The storm left many homes without electricity. Croatia also saw heavy flooding and wind damage, while other Balkan countries are still battling heat waves and wildfires.
A fast-moving wildfire near Marseille has left more than 100 people injured as flames threaten parts of France's second-largest city. Officials say some 800 firefighters have been deployed to battle the blaze, which at its peak spread at a rate of over 1 kilometre per minute. At least 400 people have been evacuated, including 71 from a nursing home, but so far no deaths have been reported. Authorities are urging Marseille residents to stay indoors and avoid evacuating unless ordered to do so roads can be kept clear for emergency crews. People are also being told to keep windows closed to prevent toxic smoke from entering their homes. Weeks of heat waves combined with strong winds have increased the risks of wildfires in southern France, with several breaking out over the last few days. More than 160 people are still missing in Texas after flash floods killed over 100 people during the weekend. The number tripled after officials opened a hotline for families to report loved ones. Search teams are using heavy machinery to cut through fallen trees, dig out riverbanks, and clear huge piles of debris in the race to find the missing. Crews in airboats, helicopters, and hundreds of volunteers are involved in one of Texas's biggest ever search and rescue operations.
The primary job right now continues to be locating everybody who was affected by this flood. There still remain those who are missing. We have to find every single person who's missing.
Texas inspectors had reportedly approved Camp Mystic's emergency plan just 2 days before the disaster. 24 people were killed at the all-girls Christian summer camp, most of them children. The camp did not evacuate and was hit hard after the nearby Guadalupe River surged 9 meters in less than an hour.
US President Donald Trump has announced a 25% tax on goods imported from Japan and South Korea. He also announced new tariff rates on a dozen other nations that would go into effect on the 1st of August. Trump posted letters on Truth Social warning foreign leaders against retaliating, threatening higher US tariffs in response. His moves have raised fears that economic growth will slow to a trickle, if not make the US and other nations more vulnerable to a recession. The US president is confident that the tariffs are necessary to bring back domestic manufacturing and fund the tax cuts he signed into law. However, despite the threats, the president showed a willingness to negotiate. Trump had previously set the tariffs to come into effect on July 9th. He has now moved this date to August 1st. Japan's Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba referred to the new deadline as positive, as it allows for negotiation talks to go on. Meanwhile, South Korea's trade ministry said it would speed up talks with the US to reach a deal before the 25% export tax takes effect. Russian President Vladimir Putin has signed a decree allowing foreigners to serve in the Russian army, not only during a state of emergency or martial law, but also during draft periods. Moscow has recently intensified its summer offensive against Ukraine. Allowing foreigners to serve in the army would therefore strengthen the recruitment process while avoiding formal conscription. According to a British intelligence update, the majority of foreign recruits came from South and East Asia. The UK Ministry of Defence suggested the main factors motivating foreigners to sign up are financial incentives and the possibility of obtaining Russian citizenship.
US President Donald Trump said the United States will send more weapons to Ukraine on Monday. The decision, announced during a meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, comes just days after the Pentagon paused key arms deliveries to Kyiv, citing concerns about falling stockpiles.
We're going to send some more weapons. We have to. They have to be able to defend themselves. They're getting hit very hard now. They're getting hit very hard. We're going to have to send more weapons. Yeah, defensive weapons, primarily.
Trump also said that he was disappointed and not happy about the fact that Russian leader Vladimir Putin has not stopped his war yet on Ukraine, and that this war would never have happened if he had been president. Last week, Trump held separate calls with both Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
Civil society and the media face increasing challenges in the EU, warns the Rule of Law report. This Commission report takes the pulse of democratic institutions in the 27-member countries through 4 pillars.
Of the 2025 Rule of Law report, there is no progress in respect of many specific recommendations, and of course that is a concern. And so where we find that the space within which civil society operates, or where we find that has narrowed, for example, or where we find that the media are under undue pressure and influence, then we have to call that out.
In Italy, a new law on security aimed at combating terrorism and organised crime could have repercussions for civil society and media freedom.
So in the case of Italy, the important thing is to continue with the efforts to introduce the agreed reforms to the justice system. We have made recommendations, having looked at the 4 key pillars in the rule of law area. So, for example, in the media, having a system in place for the funding of public service media in Italy is a specific recommendation that we have made.
In Greece, Poland and Hungary, concerns persist about the independence and impartiality of media regulatory authorities. In Hungary, journalists and media outlets were accused of serving foreign interests and have been investigated.
The crackdown on civil society in Hungary was also underlined in the report. Commissioner McGrath mentioned a deteriorating environment and the legal uncertainty that organizations have to face in the country. Vincenzo Genovese, Euronews, Strasbourg.
And we can never let extremists rewrite history.
It's the debate that's caused a stir in the European Union institutions. A vote of confidence tabled against President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, presents an opportunity for MEPs to take stock 1 year after the European elections. Going into the vote, von der Leyen firstly has the full support of her European People's Party, the strongest force in the House.
The motion of censure is an initiative by anti-Europeans who want to weaken Europe, who want to weaken European institutions, and who want to reduce the trust of the citizens in the European Union. It is not meant to improve anything, it is not justified, and it is also irrelevant.
The Social Democrats, Liberals and Greens have no intention of weakening the pro-European coalition formed around the EPP. Their leaders, however, have seized the opportunity of the debate to air their grievances with the Commission. The radical left is also expected to reject the motion of censure. However, some MEPs may abstain to show their opposition to Ursula von der Leyen.
In questo momento il tema che conta è provare a dare all'Europa una speranza diversa, una nuova leadership, un cambio di passo profondo rispetto a politiche che non ci soddisfano in alcun modo, a cominciare dal piano di riarmo, ma questo si estende alle politiche sociali, al Green Deal, a tutto quello che questa Commissione non sta facendo o peggio sta tradendo rispetto a impegni del passato.
Thirdly, the European Conservatives and Reformist group will be divided at the time of the vote, the motion of which was tabled by one of its members. Finally, the most right-wing groups in the chamber, the Patriots for Europe and the Europe of Sovereign Nations, are expected to vote in favour of the motion, which on paper seems doomed to fail.
The vote on the motion of censure on Thursday will likely indicate the levels of discontent within the European Parliament towards the European Commission. Vincenzo Genovese, Euronews, Strasbourg.